Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Ben Cartwright. If you've clicked on this video, you might be looking at thinking it's going to be a tool review, but there's plenty of tool reviews on YouTube for the Festool TS55 track saw. So it's not going to be that. I'm just using it just to highlight something that really I think goes hand in hand with the track saw, and that is some form of bench setup or rip table that you need to use when ripping sheet material. So I just want to do a brief video on what I use, what I started out with when I first bought the track saw, and then I kind of upgraded, and I just really want to show my setup. It's very basic, very simple to do, but massively useful. And it might be of some help to people out there that are using this system. So I'm going to get rid of the Festools and let's get talking about my setup. So when I first bought the track saw, initially I wasn't having to rip a lot of sheet material down. I was using it for maybe cutting the odd end panel in the kitchen or the island counterbacks. They're decent size cuts. But what I was finding is this is basically what I've got in front of me. This is how I would go about. You put your bits of timber on your bench, put your board on top of there, and that was great for cutting cross-cutting end standards to a height. But where it started to become tricky when I started to have to cut more sheet material down was what happens when you want to do a rip cut and the board's over and you're cutting in the centre here. The board's going to collapse in, and it was just becoming so tricky, and really I knew what I needed to do. I knew I needed some kind of rip table, and I'd been on YouTube and watched numerous videos of people, mainly in the US actually. There's a couple of guys that have got big channels on YouTube, and built some really amazing rip tables. So I kind of took a little bit of inspiration from that, but made it unique to my situation. I kind of wanted, I know on the market there's like your MFT table, I think it's MFT table with Festool. I mean, I do really love Festool, but I thought for a workbench, I didn't really know whether I wanted to go to that extent of spending that money. And also as well is, I know you can put cover boards down, but you're ripping through your top, and eventually it gets degraded, and I just thought to myself, I don't know whether I want to go down that route. And maybe there's a few of you out there, or a lot of you out there in a similar sort of position where do you want to go that extra cost to buy something like that, because it's only a certain size, and then if you need it a little bit bigger you have to buy the extension kit, and but I'm sure it's well worth it. I know it works for a lot of the other tools with Festool, so I'm sure there's lots of pluses to it. But for my situation, this is kind of what I decided to come up with. So, like I said, I watched numerous videos on YouTube. I pulled some ideas from various places, and decided that I was going to kind of come up with my own bench. Now, I designed this bench around having to deal with like a 10x4 sheet. Now, so you're not going to want a bench. I also wanted this bench to be portable. I wanted to be able to get it in the back of the van. I didn't want it to be too heavy. I wanted a few things to it that was made it a bit more versatile. So what I decided was I needed to be able to rip like you can imagine. You need to think of your worst case scenario. What are you going to be cutting down? And I even thought to the point of what about when I have to cut jumbo sheets down? Because believe it or not, I have actually been to a supplier when I was first working out the back of the van. I got a jumbo sheet and I was on the car park actually, you know, cutting this sheet down, and I was actually using this kind of system. It was so crazy, but you know, you do these things to start with when you first starting out. You know, you haven't got everything. So I thought to myself, worst case scenario, I'm going to be ripping. I want to be able to work at a 3 metre length, a 10x4 sheet, and also maybe have the facility to put a jumbo sheet on top of this bench, so that you know, that's covering a decent size. I mean, I think the jumbo sheet is about 2.6 by about 2.3, so that's a hell of a board. So I kind of started to thrash some ideas out. Like I said, it needed to be portable, it needs to be light. So basically, this is the system that I've decided to come up with. So I'm gonna take these off, and I'm gonna bring the bench round and show you the bench. So this, it looks really fairly decrepit now, because believe it or not, this bench is probably knocking on at I would say 3.5 years old, and this has done an immense amount of, it's had an immense amount of cuts on this board. Now the camera probably doesn't really pick it up, but there's a lot of cuts in this. I am actually probably looking either to replace this or just basically take the top pieces off and put new boards on top of here. It's set up in like I'll turn it around. It's really basic. All it is spruce ply. It's just a spruce ply bench, and I've strengthened it with these strengthening pieces just to help keep it flat. We'll keep the top flat. I'll spin it round. Now you can see this massive gaping hole there. Now these are actually, this and this here, they are actually removable. I did that for weight reasons, but also as well what this is coming for, and I will grab it in a minute. In fact, I'll grab the two things that I've made for a couple of tools that I've got, and this space has really come in without. I didn't really design it for that reason, but it's brilliant what this has been used for. So yeah, these two can be removed. I've got another one of these that I can screw in, so it makes a full bench. I decided to go for a slatted system in the middle of the bench, because what I quite liked about that is, one is it saved on weight, but also it allows me to do clamping, so I can get a clamp in between the pieces and clamp it together, clamp the work pieces together. So yeah, just a couple of little reasons there. So now, if the camera hopefully is going to pick this up, there's a couple of slots in the top here and the same on the bottom. Now you're probably wondering what those are for, and I'll just grab those pieces. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to lay the bench down now so I can kind of explain kind of what goes on. So I've designed this bench to sit on a couple of Stanley workhorses, and it's a nice height. I've got a couple of other trestles in the workshop that raise it up a little bit higher, so you're not kind of leaning down all the time. But I'll just grab the other two pieces. So these pieces basically are very, very simple. Just some timber, just some 3B, well, inch and a half. Just screwed together, and as you can see, if the camera can pick it up, they're notched. And basically, what these do is these slot in the end of the bench. So this will probably seem quite awkward on camera, but they do go in quite nicely now. To start with, they were a little bit tight, but now I'm only going to put the one in for now, so the bench is going to look like it's on the slant because the other one lifts it up to the same height. But basically, what happens is these get slotted on the end. They go into the bench to about this point here, where there's a notch out in here. So basically, that stops it from kicking down, keeps it really nice and rigid. Having these ply stretchers in here, it really makes the bench really strong, and it really stops these. You know, they don't go anywhere. I'm not lifting the bench up at that. You know, so basically there's an outrigger there, and there's an outrigger on this side, and that gives me, I'll measure it. So that gives me, measuring that there, that actually gives me 8x4. So if I put one of the other one of these on that end, I can get an 8x4 sheet on here. The bench itself, I'm sure you're wondering, the bench itself is 800 wide. Now, one of the reasons behind that, I could go a little bit wider than 800, but what I was thinking is, again, like at the design stage, is I want to be able to use this on site. I may be working in a customer's house. I want to be able to, you know, I'm sure we've all worked in some seriously small spaces. I know I have. So I wanted to kind of make it usable in a small space. So I thought 800 was a decent compromise. It goes in my van. You know, I've got a good 300mm, like above the once it goes in. I stack it so it's on its side. What's quite nice as well with it being open on the back side, I put this face against the wall of the van, and I can get tools. I can put tools inside here, and it doesn't take up, believe it or not, it doesn't actually take up that much space in the van. If you watched my video on van security, you know I've got a Fiat Doblo Maxi, so yeah, it goes really well in there. I take this on a lot of jobs because my background is bench joinery, and probably different to site carpenters, you know, but I've always been used to working at a bench and having a bench to work off, you know, and I build a lot of bespoke furniture and fitted furniture, and you need somewhere to assemble. So I knew that I would have to get some form of a bench set up. I couldn't just have, you know, just a simple system for ripping and cutting boards. I needed something to be working off regularly. And this, like I say, that at the moment, what I'm finding difficult with this at the moment, and I am going to be making a new one of these, purely for the workshop. I'm going to be making it out of Velcromat MDF, which will be really, really cool. I'm thinking about doing a video on it. I've got some slight changes that I want to make to this for the workshop one, because this, what I'm finding now, because of the amount of cuts that are in it, when I come into assembly and little things, it's like things go into the cuts, and it's making it a little bit more awkward now. But like I say, this bench is like, it's 3.5. It's got to be over 3.5 years old. So the amount of cutting is immense that it's taken on. And I've got to be honest, it's crazy. There's probably people out there that like do things similar, but like it costs the least amount of money. I think, believe it or not, I think this all came out of one sheet of spruce ply, maximum 2 sheets of spruce ply, a little bit of softwood. It cost me easily less than 50 quid, and no word of a lie, I couldn't live without this bench. The work that this bench has done, it's as important as some of my expensive tools. It really is. It's part of the team. So, and I'm sure there's people out there that, you know, are looking at probably introducing something very, very similar. So let's go back to the scenario of the jumbo sheet. So okay, great, you know, I can get an 8x4 on here with no overhang on the ends. So obviously, you know, an extra 600mm, 300mm either end with a 3 metre sheet is no problem. We've got the 800, so like a 4 foot, you're only overhanging the side by, you know, a couple of 100mm max. So that's fine. So what about the jumbo sheet scenario? Okay, so that's the problem. Right, so I decided the simplest solution for that is just basically, there's a notch out, the camera won't really pick this up very well, but there's a notch out in here, saying this side, and on these outriggers, there's notches in here and in here. And basically what these are notched, and these pieces of timber are, they're 1600, and this piece goes, this piece is one that slots in here, slots in there. This piece is for in the middle of here. This is where you come a little bit unstuck on the video. It can look a little bit silly, but that goes in there like that. Now, if I wanted to, because these can tip a little bit, they're pretty rigid. I mean, obviously you can see me forcing it there, but when you've got a big jumbo sheet resting on that, it can lift up. So I could put some screws into here if I wanted to. I haven't got holes for that. I haven't found that I've needed to do that. But basically what that does then is it allows me to, while I do in the workshop, because I do use jumbo sheets, and that they're massive, they're heavy, so I can't get them on my panel saw. So what I do is I get this on the floor, jumbo sheet onto here, track saw out, cut down to rough sizes off the board, and then I can get them on the dimension saw, the panel saw, without struggling, without being too heavy and whatnot, working on my own. So yeah, so again, just a really simple setup, simple notches in the bench like that. It's not rocket science. I'm sure there's people out there with much better ideas than what I've got. Like I said, there's lots of people on YouTube that have designed some amazing benches. So I'm just going to I just want to just touch on a couple of things, like what I say about this hole here, which I didn't realise was going to be such a useful thing. But I'm just going to grab the router table. So this is the router table, and the router sits in that hole. I've got a fence for this. I've got the fence off the spindle mould that sits on here, so I've got a parallel fence. But the spindle mould, it's actually, the base is off my Festool router. I've got the base set, so I've taken one of the bases out and permanently fixed this to the bottom, so the router can just clip on and clip off. So the router just sits in there. I've got a nice I've got a nice area to work off. I've got, you know, I've got plenty of bench to take long pieces through the router, and like I say, this is something that is just a bit of an added bonus. Another little table that I made. This is a little jig setup that I made for my portable edge bander, and that just, again, the edge bander sits in that gap. It's, the edge bander connects to this metal plate that come with the edge bander, and the edge bander sits in there. And again, I've got this whole bench to be able to work off. I can put some supports on the bench if I've got big panels to push through. I can put some supports on the bench to support the panel as I'm pushing it through the edge bander. So like when I do make the, just put this back, when I do make the new bench setup in the workshop, I will certainly be having a hole like this, very simple. It's probably something that's removed, like a panel that's removable, so when I'm not using the tools, I can just drop that back in, and I've got like a full surface. But I've got to be honest, I know it sounds silly, but it's, you know, especially with this on site, one of the beauty of this hole is you can get your hand in and you can lift it up, you can move it around, and it's not heavy. It's one of the things. I mean, I'll just the actual depth of this. The depth is 220, so it's 220 deep, which I thought it's you don't want to go too thin, because then you might get a bit of sag on the bench for some weights, but you don't want to go too wide, because then it's going to be bulky and heavy. And so some people, some other videos, like I say, these bench setups, some people cut holes, lots of holes in the outer sides, again so you can slide maybe a track saw through it, or just again for weight reasons, I would imagine. So I just, like I said, I'm not saying I sat there for hours designing this bench, because I didn't really. I just took a lot of inspiration off YouTube, thought about it a little bit, and then kind of just went at it. And like a lot of things, when you're kind of making things, when you start making something, sometimes the ideas just come to you as you're going along. So some bits I added, I didn't actually think of it at the time until I've actually started making it. But it's been a great asset. Please, like, if you haven't got something like this, and you are using a track setup, and you are struggling with timbers on benches, get yourself Saturday, one weekend. You won't even take you a full day. Just get yourself a sheet or a couple of sheets of spruce ply. It's just something simple. Just copy this. Copy what I've done here. I mean, anyone who's been in the trade and can do something like this. It's not bespoke joinery by any means. It's just a functional table. I do get a few funny looks on when I have been on sites that at one stage someone said they were going to cut it up for firewood because it looks that there's paint on it, there's cuts in it, it does look like it should go in the skip really, but I would have been absolutely distraught if I found it in the skip. But I have been on site, and it's very funny. Once it's set up, there's a few people that start coming over and using it. I've had electricians using it, I've had plumbers using it. Everyone kind of needs a bit of a workstation to work at. So yeah, I'm going to end the video there. I think it's gone on long enough. If you've watched a couple of my other videos, you'll have wondered what I'm no longer holding the camera. Well, I'm sure figured this out by now, that it's now on a tripod. This is videos, I'm trying it for the first time. Like I say, I do want to make some making videos, but I know I'm going to have to edit those because I've got to speed things up, and you know, you're not going to want to watch me make something for 24 hours, you know, the whole job. That's got to be reduced down into a reasonable sized video. I just want to say a little bit of a thank you to a couple of, well, at this moment I think I'm on about 5 subscribers, so I just want to say thank you to the 5. I'd just like to say thank you to Alistair Johnson at Freebird Interiors. He was very kind enough I messaged him on Instagram, and he was very kind enough to take a phone call from me just to ask for some points of a few questions on YouTube and the channel, and it's going forward, and he was very helpful, and hopefully we may collaborate in the future. His channel is a lot bigger than mine, so if you're interested in this kind of stuff and you haven't seen his channel, then please go and check it out. His channel is Freebird Interiors. My channel is too small at the moment to have any kind of specific name apart from my own, which is Ben Cartwright. So yeah, if you've watched up until now and you like this, and you know you fancy subscribing, I'm going to do as many kind of videos to help other trades, other carpenters join us out in doing the same sort of stuff. I'm sure you guys have come up against problems and solved them yourself, but you know, if you want a different take on things, then you know, hit the subscribe button. It'd be great to get a few more people on board, maybe get some comments coming through. So it's a long journey, and it can be a little bit off-putting when you do a video and you don't really get that many views, but I guess it's early days, so we'll stick at it. So yeah, you know, cheers for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye.